It's Monday, May 25th, 2026, and this is episode 360 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, you okay? You need to catch your breath or something here?
Yep. Nope, I'm good.
We planned on a time to record, and so, I brought up Zoom, and I'm waiting, and I sent you a text, and I'm still waiting. You're the one who decided on the time that we were going to record.
Normally, I'm, right on schedule, but I was outside doing something. I just kind of lost track of time. And it's funny because I told Lynn, let me know when it's like 11:30 so I can... She told me when it was. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. And so there you go.
All right. Well, here we go. We're underway. Dr. Mike, on our last episode, we talked about Ike racks. We had heard that the chip racks that you use mostly in poker rooms, but sometimes in the casino if you're like changing tables or you need to take a bunch of chips with you instead of coloring up. You've got these chip racks. We had heard that they were called Ike racks. And you and I figured that we had originally heard that term when we saw one at the Gambler's General Store. And in fact, that's the only reference that I could find online was from the Gambler's General Store. Well, leave it to Jim from New York to figure it all out for us.
Okay. I should have known. We should just go to him when we should have him on.
I should, before I even put show notes together, I should send them to him. And Jim, everything look okay here? Yeah. Is the show going to be okay?
Yeah. You got anything to add?
Yeah. What did we get wrong? All right. We're going to talk about what is and what is not an Ike rack and the origin of the term, what it actually means. First of all, the chip racks that we use in poker rooms and to move around, those aren't Ike racks. Ike racks are a specific kind of rack, very similar, but they don't hold traditional casino chips. Remember back in the olden days, Mike, when we played slot machines, you would have to put in coins on your own. There were no Tito vouchers, right? And for dollar machines, you would put in these big metal tokens that the casino would give you, right? They were the size of silver dollars. And in a lot of cases, you could use a real silver dollar in the machine or just a token that the casino would give you.
Right.
So Ike racks were the racks that would hold these big dollar tokens. And Dr. Mike, who is on the silver dollar? And here's a hint. They're called Ike racks.
Eisenhower.
Yes. Eisenhower silver dollars. That's where the term Ike rack came from. Jim from New York just figured this all out. And it makes complete sense.
Okay.
Ike racks are only the ones...
Figured it out or looked it up?
No, he figured it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so far it makes perfect sense.
Right. I mean, I couldn't find any way to actually confirm it, but this makes perfect sense. Ike racks. And when you see those Ike racks, the ones that we've seen, they're red and they're kind of raised too. They're a little deeper than regular chip racks.
They got to be a little raised, a little higher because otherwise those silver dollars would fall out. Yeah. Oh, very good. Well, that makes 100%
complete sense.
So what are the ones that you use now, like the clear ones that are low for chip? Just chip rack?
Chip rack.
Okay. Yeah, they don't have a name.
No, I don't think so. Nothing special, just a chip rack. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim, once again.
And thank goodness we've got a podcast because we never would have known this if we couldn't have put it out there.
Yeah. Now the world can rest easier.
Yeah.
Tonight, everyone will know we got it squared away.
Right. And, our campaign of getting it into the lexicon, we can just put that to bed.
Yeah.
Because, nobody uses Ike racks anymore. You don't deal with silver dollars or, dollar tokens anymore.
I do remember actually putting real silver dollars into a machine.
Yep.
You could go to the cashier and get a rack of silver
Yep.
dollars.
Yeah. Well, and you didn't have to go to the cage necessarily. Littered across the casino, there were
Right.
places where you could get coins or turn in your coins. Right. They had the big machines. They were
Right. Right.
dedicated stations.
Yeah, usually a lady in some little like round booth, I guess it
Right. Right
was.
in the middle of the casino floor.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, be standing there, giving you change.
Yep.
Now, how could Vegas not make it? They cut back all those ladies are out of jobs. They
And
don't have them anymore.
right. And, with the W2G raising to 2,000, the slot runners, they don't have as many things to do because there aren't as many
Yeah.
hand pays to do.
Right. And they still have hand wipes in casinos, but they don't go through them nearly as much
Not nearly
without
as much.
the coin usage. They'd have big bowls of them.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
People take a whole handful because every so often you'd have to clean your hands from all the coin gunk that was on there.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going out of business, Mike. That is a good question.
Saving tons of money
Yeah.
on personal wipes. Where was that? They just had a sign personal wipes.
Yeah. Can I interest you in a personal wipe? No, thanks.
No, I'm good.
Well, Mike, we got an email from listener Travis B. He wrote, "We've all heard of the pendulum swinging in design. What's old becomes new again. And if you wait long enough, old trends come back in style." That got me thinking about Las Vegas, and I thought it might be an interesting discussion. What things were popular in Las Vegas 30 to 50 years ago, maybe from the 1980s to the early 2000s, that has since waned in popularity, but should consider making a comeback or pendulum swing? Interested in hearing your thoughts. Now, Mike, I've had a little time to think about it, so maybe I'll go first, but...
I got one right off the bat.
Oh, well, then go ahead.
One thing I'd like to see come back is more of the big marquees out in front of casinos.
So you're not crazy about kind of the LED displays that most of the places have? And
right. In the old days, and it would be flashing up something like steak and eggs, 99 cents.
Okay.
3 to 2 blackjack. You see a lot of ads now for like their shows, but you don't see all those. Remember, you'd go down the strip and just everywhere you look, big marquees of things like the steak and egg breakfast special.
Okay, and
like
I think all of our responses are going to be more nostalgia than anything, and we don't expect these things to come back. But you're thinking of like the permanent display, not like a display that changes, like the LEDs, but the whole time it's just a big, 3 to 2 blackjack, double odds on craps. Yeah, steak and eggs, $1.99. Just, something that, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I liked those. I don't know why. It just felt Vegas-y. That was Vegas to me, right?
Yeah.
In your hometown, you're driving down Main Street or something. You're not seeing all that stuff, but you go to Vegas and it was like that and all the glitz of at nighttime with the lights and stuff.
Okay. So, yeah, this sounds really more like nostalgia for you because, I'm sorry, you drive down the strip. It's not like there isn't anything to look at.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, that's my nostalgic thing that I'd like to see come back.
Okay.
I have fond memories of when we were young, seeing that and thinking, Vegas.
All right. Well, I'm going to repeat myself here and say coffee shops. That's something that I wish at least were at more strip casinos. Keno, not just Keno, but Keno runners, right?
Yes.
Where you'd be in the restaurant and they would come by.
Yeah.
Theming. And I think some people kind of wish that we would go back to theming. For a while there, everything was themed, when it was Excalibur and Luxor and New York, and all that thing. And they kind of stepped back from that.
Treasure Island.
Right, yeah. So I'd like to see that come back. And I think a lot of people would.
How about glasses and cups for drinks? It seems to me now they're pretty generic.
I know what you're thinking of it. Treasure Island, they used to have like these pirate glasses. What it was? So that's what you're thinking.
And remember Golden Nugget had the boot? I still have 3 or 4 of those.
So that might go along with theming as well.
Yeah, they
Okay.
had a theme, and it was fun just seeing people walk around with different themed things.
You know what I wish would come back is the simple junket.
Yeah.
Right? We used to be able to pay for, a junket up front, fly Southwest. It was Four Queens we usually went to, but it'd be great if anybody did this anymore. We would have to play for a certain amount of time. The dealer would sign some slip and you'd get your money back. Right?
Right.
Basically a free trip. You
Hmm.
don't see that anymore.
Yeah, that included a room too.
Oh, right. You could do it, either like a day trip or for a room.
Yeah.
There are
And
deals still, but
right.
not the kind of deals where somebody with no previous play,
Right.
they don't know you at all. Maybe you don't even have a card with them yet, but
Right.
you could get a junket and basically get a free trip. And
Right.
Stupak used to do that, right? At
Oh,
Vegas World,
a
right?
lot of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Anything else you can think of? And again, other people might have some better ideas here because we're kind of just looking back to things that we liked.
Right.
And in some cases, there's no way they're coming back. So,
Yeah. Let's see. What else did we have back then? Well, I guess you could put it under the big title of gimmicks. Casinos had some gimmick, like, every hour somebody gets picked to go into the booth and,
oh, yeah.
have money blown at you and things like that.
I think local casinos have kind of taken that over. Like Hamul, by me,
Uh-huh.
on like a Monday night, oh, okay, every hour we're giving away 1,000 in free play. They do
Right.
stuff like that all the time, where you have to be
Yeah.
there. I would guess that a lot of the local casinos in Vegas, too, that appeal to locals, do that more than the touristy
The
places. But
touristy
yeah, that would
places,
be
yeah.
nice.
But even in the touristy places, I remember when they did
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that, and
Yeah.
it was kind of fun just sitting there thinking, I hope my name gets called,
Yeah.
and I would love if they had Keno runners that went around the casino, not just in the restaurants and stuff, but
Yeah. I
like a
mean,
cocktail waitress.
yeah. And I guess the runners that did go to the restaurants, technically you could stop one, if you were at a
Yeah. Oh,
slot or
yeah.
something. Oh, can you,
Sure.
give me a ticket and they'd take care of you. Yeah.
Maybe that's us because we like to gamble, but maybe it's a little overkill. But I enjoyed playing Keno while you were doing something
Oh
else,
yeah, it's
eating,
personnel, right? It
whatever.
comes down to that. They're trying to cut
Yeah,
down on the
right. And
cost.
if you wanted a fancy dinner, there was no Keno runner in a
Right,
steakhouse.
right.
But in the cafes and stuff, I prefer cafes versus food courts. Now, I know that in a food court it's quicker.
Yeah.
And you would think that would be my favorite thing. We go in and get some, but I kind of liked going in a cafe, especially if they had Keno and you're playing Keno and you're talking to your friends and you're eating. And I mean, there was just a lot going on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Let's not belabor this because we've talked about cafes
Yeah.
and coffee shops quite a bit. So let's open it up to the listeners. What kind of pendulum swing would you want or predict would happen in Las Vegas? Something that used to be there a long time ago that's gone, that maybe should
Yeah.
come back either style wise, because that's kind of how Travis framed it, style wise
Right.
or non style wise. Yeah.
Well, I don't think family themes are going to come back ever again.
No, that was kind of a failed experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an experiment that really failed. I mean, how long was that theme park there behind?
Oh, at MGM? It was like 7 years. I want to say it
Yeah.
closed in 2000.
Yeah, because that was a lot of money invested in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a big chunk of land, and they, put all the stuff in there and all the people they'd hired to run all the rides and this and that
Sure.
and things. I know, it's just if you were an adults going, well, what age group, what would you consider the biggest age groups in Vegas? Like if you went into a casino, you'd see, 21-year-olds to 35-year-olds or 70 to 80-year-olds. Or I kind of feel like the clientele in Las Vegas on the strip in general has gotten younger,
Oh,
where
yeah.
predominantly in the either high 20s or 30s, Definitely under like 45.
I can't speak to that, but it would make sense because the older crowds would be the ones more likely to go to their local casinos,
Right.
rather than make that trip. Oh God,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
plane ride. But
Flying or driving. Yeah. They
yeah,
like the local casinos, you see a lot of old people.
yeah.
Vegas to me seems like the majority now are a lot younger. And I remember when we were young, the majority seemed a lot older.
I think that makes sense, Mike. Again, I don't have the numbers to back me up, but right, there's so much more to do in Vegas now, especially for young
Right.
people, not children, but young people
Right.
like the clubs and the restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not gamblers, right? That used to
Right.
be the reason you'd go to Vegas was for gambling, certainly when we
Gambling.
were younger. And that's the only
Yes.
reason we did go. We weren't going for clubs or
Well, I think
restaurants or
that's
anything.
the reason
Sure.
most people went.
Yeah. Well, let us know, folks, if you've got any ideas on the pendulum swing that may or may
Yeah, it's
not
hard to
happen in
tell
Las
what's
Vegas.
going to come back.
Sure.
I mean, I'm thinking culottes. I was just telling Lynn the other day,
Mhm.
culottes are going to come back in style anytime.
Are they?
Yeah. We just saw some old movie and someone in it was wearing culottes. It was a movie from like I don't know, late 60s, early 70s.
All right. Well, make your investments now, Dr. Mike.
Yeah. I told Lynn, I'm going to start making, a design studio in different kinds of culottes and stuff. I wish they'd go back to those boots, The
Oh, like
boots are
the
more
like the
common.
knee-high boots?
Like the knee-high boots, yeah.
All right. Time to move on, Dr. Mike.
Oh, one thing before we move on.
All
Is
right.
there a cabaret type show in Vegas anymore?
Strictly cabaret. Yeah, I think it's mostly burlesque. Strict cabaret, and these
Yeah.
definitions overlap, obviously, but
Right.
might be a good question for the Handy at the Shandy guys or Crap Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things that were pretty popular when we were younger,
Yeah,
and now maybe not so much.
yeah. We got an email from listener Ryan K. He says, saw Circa and Cosmo videos of some new craps-like electronic table games. They look fun, but curious about the bets/odds. Have you seen any info on these? Would love to hear your thoughts on the next episode. He sent a link to a video that Circa put together. So yeah, they're called electronic table games, even though they're not based on any existing table games. There are 4 different ones. One is called Destroyer Naval Strike, and it's very much like Battleship, the board game
Right.
Battleship, but there's no, they don't call it that. And it's based on dice. You actually roll dice kind of like a bubble craps machine. And then there's another one called Battle for Earth, where you're fighting against aliens. And then a couple more called Free Fall, Extra Ball, and Cosmic Crash. And you kind of drop a ball like in Plinko on The Price is Right. It drops.
Right.
And then it like drops on a number, and the board, it looks kind of like roulette. I'll put a link to the show notes. I haven't seen them myself. We don't know anything about how to bet on like the Battleship version or what the house edge might be. But definitely at Circa, and apparently at Cosmo as well.
Huh. Well, yeah, we're going to have to check those out next time we're
Yeah.
there. Why are they always so violent, though? It's, dominate the world and World War and blah, blah, blah.
People like that, Dr. Mike.
I don't know. How about just like we play Old Maid against the casino?
Maybe an electronic version of Old Maid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Electronic version of Old Maid or Tea Party. We'll make up a game called Tea Party.
Make it up, or just Candyland.
Yeah, Candyland. I like Candyland.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
It was one of my favorites as a kid. Didn't you enjoy it?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're really little, you don't have to think about anything.
Yeah.
All right. We got another email from listener Aaron S. I was referred to your show from the Tens and Aces podcast. Oh, well, good. Thank you. A shout out to Mike AP, who's the host of that show. I think we talked about it before. Give it a listen. It's an AP podcast for blackjack. Continuing on here, and have been enjoying all your episodes. I began gambling as a recreational blackjack player about 7 years ago. After a few large losing sessions, I began searching for math-based strategies, which was where I discovered card counting. Since then, I've spent many, many hours studying and practicing to the point that I now know I have a winning game. This has also led me to a few other forms of advantage play. I found your podcast to be very interesting since you both are very aware and educated about the math of gambling, touching on topics like house edge, betting strategy flaws, etc. My question is, have either of you ever considered venturing into advantage play? If not, why? Doesn't understanding the reality of the math of casino gambling take away a lot of the fun and appeal? To be honest, I myself still will play recreationally from time to time just for fun, bearing in mind what the expected loss is for the session, but I'm curious what you guys feel about this. This is a really good question. I did some card counting years ago. I had a pretty weak counting system that I used. But I went to Vegas a couple weeks in a row just to try it out. In fact, I went on one of those junkets, right? The day junkets that I could do. So I got paid back for actually playing. I'll say this. There's an expression I'm sure many people have heard. It's, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
That doesn't work for all people. I know that I'm wired in such a way that if I had to do what I loved for a living, I would fall out of love with that thing. It's just the way I'm wired.
Well, I think most people, because it becomes a job.
Yeah, and you're depending on it. And I could tell even just doing the card counting, that brief period of time, not that Aaron is saying, make a living as an AP.
Right.
But I think it would take some, if not all of the fun away if I was really trying to get that edge. And AP moves, they're not just about knowing the math. It's also about being deceptive, not letting the casino know what you're doing, right? Especially when it comes to card counting, that kind of thing.
Right.
So me personally, I don't think I would enjoy putting the work into it. Aaron asks, well, are you able to enjoy recreational gambling knowing the math? Absolutely, because I don't dwell on the math when I'm playing.
Right.
I know the math, but I don't, I'm not thinking about, oh, this is a losing bet. Oh, I need to take all my bets down, right? So I don't, certainly at this point in my life, I don't have any plans to pursue advantage play. If something's dropped in my lap, of course, I'll take advantage of it. But what do you think, Dr. Mike?
Well, I think if you decide that you're going to make your living by gambling, then yes, you need to have advantage play. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make a living.
Oh, sure.
But if your thoughts about gambling are, well, no, I don't really want to make this a living, I just like to do it, then, why would you invest all the time it takes to be an advantage player? Because it does take a lot of time. If you're an advantage slot player, I mean, those guys have to have a network of people that they resource with and find out what's going on where and what machine is primed for payout and things like that. And blackjack advantage players have to worry about the casino monitoring them. They have to be deceptive. All that stuff takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
If that's your livelihood, then maybe you're willing to invest that time. But if that's not going to be your livelihood, why would you want to do that just to go out and have a few hours of fun, a few times a week?
Well, it depends. There are levels of advantage play also. Yeah, there's the kind where you're devoting your life to it. But it's, hey, I have basic strategy memorized. That's okay. That's not technically an advantage play, but that's as far as I want to go, right? I don't want to go to counting. Or I happen to know that now that this progressive is at this amount, it's an advantage play to play this slot or this video poker. You don't have to put a lot of work into that, right?
Right.
Dr. Mike and I both like math and we like to gamble. And I think we really like gambling as a recreation. And so I'm just repeating myself. We don't dwell on the math.
I just like the thrill of beating the odds.
Beating the odds. That's it. Yeah, that's what makes gambling fun, beating the odds.
It's kind of like when you're on a basketball team, for me, when I was younger, that's not quite as good, as maybe some other teams, but you come up against them and you either beat them or you give them a real run for the money. That's a rush to me.
Yeah. The miracle on ice. That's what we're all
Yeah.
shooting for.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thanks for the question, Aaron. We got an email from listener Scott P. He was talking about Prim. We mentioned on the last episode that all the properties at Prim are closing. He was laughing because he remembered there was a dealer there who would not refer to rolls as easy rolls. Like, you got a hard 6 and then an easy 6. He would call them soft. So it was like, soft 6, right. Soft 8. And he was laughing about that.
Which makes more sense, really.
No, it doesn't. Right? No, it doesn't.
Hard and soft.
Yeah.
Not hard and easy.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Mike, but no, it doesn't make more sense.
It's easy and difficult. Oh, he rolled the difficult 8.
Okay.
Easy, difficult, hard, soft.
All right. Yeah, you made your point. Yeah, every once in a while we'll hear a dealer say that. It's funny. But yeah, you're right. It's the opposite of hard. It's soft. So
it's soft.
And then there's all the jokes that go along with that. So
right. And a lot of people, you don't hear this as much, but you used to hear dealers say, "Oh, little Joe," because that's a hard 4.
Yeah.
And then big was a hard 10.
Yeah.
And my wife, who used to always say, "Oh, that was a soft 6," and who really wants a soft 6?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, listener Brandon N. tweeted us about a side bet that he saw in his poker room. And we've even got it here at Hamul. It's called the Bonus Spin Extreme Poker Room side bet. And it's a bet that you can make playing poker. There's a little lighted area there where you'll put your chip. And if the flop is a straight, a flush, 3 of a kind, or a straight flush, the dealer spins this virtual wheel. It's just a display on the table that spins. And the first spin, it will land on a dollar amount, $20, $40, whatever. And whoever made the bet will win that amount. And then there's another wheel that also picks a spot at the table. And if the player at that spot made the bet, they get to spin another virtual wheel. It's all on the same display. And he gets an additional payout. And there's usually a progressive jackpot that goes with that. So anyway, that's how it works. And Brandon was wondering, what kind of house edge is there on that? What are kind of the specifics? As far as I can tell, there's no way to calculate the house edge because the company that created it, AGS, has very little information about the bet. Plus, there is a progressive component to it, so the house edge is going to change depending on what that progressive amount is. Typically, with these kind of bets, the house edge is anywhere between 12, 20%. But the casinos, poker players are generally pretty tight. But there are plenty of players out at Hamul who make these bets, and every once in a while they'll get a big payout. So it's kind of fun. It's only for flop games. In my mixed game, we play so many different games. Some of them are flops, some not, so that we don't have that on our table. But yeah, the flop has to be straight, flush, 3 of a kind or straight flush, and then it activates it. So, and that happens about 9% of the time that one of those comes up on the flop. So, that's how often it's activated.
Yeah, so if you bet that bet every time.
Yeah.
And it only comes up 9%.
Yeah.
And even when it does come up, doesn't mean you're going to be picked.
Right. And, again, there's so little information about the odds, right? The amount that you win, $20, okay, well, that doesn't cover, the other times that I bet it, right? At $5 a pop.
Right.
At Hamul, it's like $5. They can have different, amounts, but yeah.
I would guess it's a pretty high house advantage.
Yeah. I'll post a link to the AGS explanation of the game so people can kind of see. But again, it doesn't give a lot of information about the amounts that could possibly come up or the house edge or anything. So it's more of a curiosity. But yeah, trying to take advantage of those poker players as well. Hey, we've got a listener who's got a birthday coming up. We want to say happy birthday to listener Brock Boyd from his fiancée, Maddie. His birthday is June 3rd coming up, so just a shout out. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
Enjoy.
birthday. Do we know which birthday?
No, we don't know how old Brock is turning, but hopefully he's old enough to gamble. So
yeah, well, I assume
enjoy
that.
your birthday. Maybe go out to the casino, have some fun.
Yeah, and good luck. Go out to the casino and just have a monster win. Hit something big.
Yeah. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. That means it's voicemail time, and we've got some great news from J-Dubs.
Mark and Dr. Mike, it is Josh W., also known as 360 Vegas J-Dubs. Imagine my surprise and delight when I was driving around the other evening listening to older episodes, getting caught up, and I heard listener Jason call in last month with his book report on Mark from 360 Vegas's book, Vegas, From Fremont to the Strip. And you both mentioned that I was working on Mark's second book, and I am calling in because I'm delighted to let you and your listeners and listener Jason know that by the time this episode airs, Mark's second book, Vegas, Icons and Legends, will be available on Amazon.com. You can get a paperback, you can get a hardcover, you can get a Kindle edition. It'll be released May 15th, which is Vegas's birthday, and also would have been Mark's 50th birthday. So we thought that was a great way to celebrate and honor him. It was a delight. It was funny to have my daughter in the car with me when my name was dropped. She said, "Does everybody know you?" And I think it's good for a teenager to believe that everyone does know their parent. So I did not hesitate, and I said, yes, everyone knows who I am. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well. It was great being on the Podcasters After Dark panel with you all back in December at Zorkfest. And I hope you all check out Mark's second book, Vegas, Icons and Legends, available after May 15th on Amazon. Take care. Love you both.
All right. That is great news. Yep.
Yes.
On Amazon right now. Gosh, it wasn't that long that we were talking about this, and Josh obviously spent a lot of time on this, getting it out quickly, I think.
Yes.
When you consider it, yes, the book was virtually already written, but again, the editing and the publishing and everything that goes along with it, great job, Josh.
Which, like I said before, takes most of the time. It's a very difficult process.
Right.
And Josh, you're 100% correct. Always make sure that your children know you know everybody.
Yeah.
The dad has to know everybody, and the mom has to know everything.
There you go. Perfect.
That's the way we raised our kids. You want to know something? The truth? Ask your mom. You want to know something about what's going on or, people or something? Ask dad. He knows everybody.
Oh, yeah. They know who I am. Yeah. No, sometimes they contact me. Yeah.
My kids and my wife always say, well, yeah, dad walks down the street. People walk up. Hi, Mike. How do you know all these people? I don't know. Just know them.
So Karen, Tony, and Josh released a new episode of 360 Vegas where Josh talks about getting the book ready for publishing. So I urge you to listen to that. It's very interesting, how he was able to kind of edit Mark's things and even provide a chapter on his own. I think Josh wrote the Frank Sinatra chapter, but give that a listen. It's the latest 360 Vegas episode. In addition, some other great news. Karen, Tony, and Josh have decided to start a podcast of their own. When Mark passed, a lot of listeners said, hey, are the three of you going to continue the 360 Vegas podcast? And Karen was pretty blunt. She said, I don't want to do 360 Vegas without 360 Vegas. Right. And, that made a lot of sense. Yes. But still, a lot of people really love the banter that everyone had on the show. So Karen, Tony, and Josh have started a new podcast. It's called The Neon Lounge. The first episode is already out. Go to where you find your podcasts and look up The Neon Lounge. It's great to hear them talking about Vegas. They've got some swinging music that they created for the show that is fantastic. You're going to love listening
swing
to that.
Music?
More like, Rat Pack music, like The Neon Lounge, come on in. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, I like swing music.
Yeah. So give a listen to that. On their first episode, too, they also talk about Original Dave. You know Original Dave. He is organizing kind of a 360 Vegas vacation meetup, very unofficially. But he's doing that. They've got the details of that on the episode. And maybe in the future, there'll be a kind of a Neon Lounge meetup. Go on, give it a listen. Great to have these guys back in the podcast space.
Yes, those are two very good news.
Yes. Two very good news
items.
All right. Next call.
Hey, guys, this is Dan from Seattle. I love your show. One of my three great, huge addictions podcast-wise, the other one being Crap Vegas. I'm not a gambler and I'm not a drinker, but I do adore Las Vegas. And I love your podcast. Huge, huge addiction of mine. I just wanted to mention that to you guys. Give you a huge shout out. Thank you for everything you do in your podcast. Is great. I love it, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Now, he said there were three addictions. He said us and Crap Vegas. What's the third?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, it could be Handy, could be 500. Who knows?
Huh. He'll just have to call back and let us know. People will be wondering.
What do you think's most likely?
Oh, I can tell you what's not likely.
Oh, what's that, Dr. Mike?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not Vegas Fanboy.
Oh, yeah. Vegas Fanboy. That one was rough.
Yeah.
He was so embarrassed by that, you can't find episodes anymore. Wow. They're not archived or anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like it never even existed.
Yeah, you can't find it.
Like you woke up and it was just a bad nightmare.
Right.
Oh, poor Adam.
Yeah, poor Adam. Well, Dr. Mike, that's actually it for our voicemails for this episode. So let's wrap it up.
All righty.
We want to thank some people for some recurring donations from Nathan B., from the National Association of Casino Party Operators, from Brian and Sarah, and from Josh H. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. We also got a donation from listener Thomas N. Have enjoyed your show for years. Please split the donation between your next trip and Dr. Mike's kids. So we did that. Thank you very much, Thomas. Also a donation from Eric H., past posting another karma donation after a successful weekend at Rocky Gap Casino in Cumberland, Maryland. I had great luck at video poker, and my wife had 2 good blackjack sessions. And just as I did for my Vegas trip in March, I warmed up with past episodes. Thanks for all you do. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
And then just right before we started recording, we got a donation from Thomas Slade. He made a bet for us on the Padres last night's game. The Padres beat the A's 7-3. So thank you very much, Thomas. He also asked that we split his donation between the show and your kids, Dr. Mike. So we did that. Thank you very much.
Great. Yep. It'll be put to good use. Don't worry about that. There's always need.
I don't know, the Las Vegas A's or whatever they're called, Sacramento A's, Oakland A's.
Yeah, wherever they're at now.
Wouldn't morale just be in the tank if you were on that team? You're just in limbo.
But they're actually having a decent year.
Yeah, they're hats off to them, really. Because,
Well, this is their last year up there, right? Will they play next season in Vegas?
No, there's no way it's going to be ready. I mean, prove me wrong, but yeah.
The year after that, then probably?
Yeah.
Because they're in Sacramento now, right?
Right.
I mean, but they're still called the Oakland A's.
No, they're not. They're called the Athletics. They don't have...
Oh, that's right. They went to the Athletics.
Yeah, that's all they're called right now.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a rough thing to be on that team, but they seem to be weathering it good, which is good for them.
Well, and Thomas and Melissa are getting ready for the Black Hawk trip that unfortunately we're going to miss because you're going to be here in town, Dr. Mike, San Diego, but hopefully they'll have a great time as always.
Yeah, that's in a couple weeks.
I know it's coming up. We'll have one more episode before you're here.
Okay, very good.
Hey, you can buy merchandise for You Can Bet on That and for the Better Life at bettermerch.com. That's BETTOR merch.com. You'll find a link for that at the top of our webpage. Also on our webpage, you'll find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television in the next 2 weeks at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. If you're looking for a movie to watch, check out our list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonthat.com/movies. If you want to listen to songs with gambling-related lyrics, check out our You Can Bet on That Spotify playlist. Just click the link towards the top of our webpage. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonthat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike?
Yes, Mark. Gosh, I don't know why these weeks just seem to be going by so fast.
And you're still not gambling?
No.
I thought you were going to make a trip.
I was, and then it just didn't work out.
Uh-huh.
But school's ending, a few more days, and so after that, I will be free to do what I may. Actually, we have 2 weeks till we leave to head to San Diego. So somewhere in that 2 weeks, I might head down to one of the casinos.
Well, don't bother now. Save up for when you're here.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Well, maybe I'll save the money and just, so we can go when we're there. I'd like to get out to even go with you maybe on one of the nights when you're playing poker.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, you can, rail me or sit in on the game. You know enough of these games, or, just go play some craps while I'm playing. Oh, that's a great idea, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably just go play some craps or something and then check in on you here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not much else to say. I'm busy watching NBA playoffs and hockey playoffs and baseball, keeping me up late at night.
Right.
Thank God for afternoon naps. I mean, they're required when you get to my age.
Yeah, they're required. Agreed.
They're required.
All right, Dr. Mike. Well, you take care. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will talk in 2 weeks.
Good night and good luck.
Did you guys see me? I was on fire tonight. Man, I can't wait to get back to the shore. God, I love gambling!